Hello, I'm John Buckles and welcome to this edition of Focus Westerville. Well, if you're like me these days, you're watching every penny in your household and doing everything you can to maximize the value of your financial resources. Well, here in Westerville, our elected officials and administrative leadership are doing the same thing. And the city's been recognized as having a long tradition of strong fiscal management. For example, did you know that for 30 years in a row, Westerville has earned the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from a National Finance Officers Association? It's an award given to only 2% of government entities. And recently, Westerville was honored again with the prestigious Auditor of State Award with distinction for their excellence in financial record keeping.
The Auditor of State Award with distinction is given only to those entities that file timely financial reports with the Auditor of State's office in accordance with GAAP, generally accepted auditing practices. In addition to receiving a clean audit report, the entity would need to complete a CAF, or a Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which the City of Westerville did for their fiscal year 2012 audit. And with that, that highest level of accountability that a public entity can perform, Westerville came out on top and as a clean entity, and we were proud to have Auditor Yost out here present the financial staff as well as the city as a whole with the fiscal year 2012 Auditor of State Award with distinction.
Well, it is part of our culture of our city organization and has been for a long time. Fiscal responsibility, managing our finances in an appropriate way and conservatively. That's always been part of the overall culture of the organization, and that continues today.
We are very, very concerned about the stewardship of funds, taking care of those funds with integrity, transparency. Our City Council for decades has stressed how important it is that we treat our taxpayer dollars as if they were our own.
It shows the citizens that we are diligent in spending their taxpayer money and that we are getting the most bang for the buck and that we're stretching that dollar to the best ability that we can.
We have a focus on financial planning, near and long-term financial planning, to make sure that we're not just taking care of today's bills, but we're also looking down the road to make sure that we have a plan in place that will contemplate our future needs as well.
The city is very focused on spending the money wisely. We get into major projects, particularly road projects and some of these utility projects that we can anticipate that are out there. We start very early with right in the engineering design, going out and determining what the needs are, what the design is going to require, and then we start figuring out what's the best way to build it.
We do a lot of reporting. We put together an comprehensive annual financial report, which is huge. It's almost 200 pages. So honesty, integrity, trust, good stewardship, those are all basic values that are from the top down, from council down to executive management, all the way down. Our employees at all levels are good stewards, including those that are using city assets like vehicles.
Every public entity, all 5,800 public entities in the state of Ohio, are required to file their financial statements through our office and receive an audit report. Where Westerville stands out in receiving this designation of the Auditor of State Award with distinction, they have presented their financial statements in a way under a clean report, whereby they're able to stand out in the top 95 percentile of public entities in the state of Ohio.
The other reason that you want a clean audit is you want our community, the state, and the world to know that Westerville is doing things right. We're doing things the right way. We have transparency. When those auditors come in, they're looking through our books. They look at our travel. They look at every expenditure. They pull it. They're really looking for something that we did wrong. And I want them to do that. That they're not able to find anything is great. That means that not only the finance staff are doing their job, but all the city departments are doing their job and taking it very seriously.
The city's reputation for commitment to financial vitality has certainly paid off. Last year, Westerville earned the highest achievable bond rating from all 3 major credit rating agencies. That stamp of confidence allows the city to fund capital improvements at minimal interest rates, thereby saving even more taxpayer dollars. On today's program, we're going to focus on the city's strategic approach to fiscal stewardship. And it might be good to start with an understanding of how the city spends public tax dollars.
The majority of the funds come from income tax dollars, where our residents pay 2% income tax since 2009. Also, the corporate taxpayers are paying into that fund. Also, we get property taxes, and those are only about 8% of our dollars. So 78% of those funds that are coming into the city are coming from income tax dollars.
The general fund is really the main core fund that all of our basic city services are funded from. So your police protection, 911, communication services, parks and recreation, all of our general government activities, and it supports also things like our street maintenance activities and things of that sort. And the general fund is primarily funded through our income tax.
The general fund includes, as far as the revenues go, we have our income tax dollars, our property tax dollars, intergovernmentals, which are coming in from the state and the county, some fees and charges that we might get from mayor's court or from planning and development for permits, those kinds of things, and some miscellaneous other. On the expenditure side, what the general fund is paying for is they're paying for our security as far as our police and the communications department. They're paying for the planning and development department. They're paying for mayor's court. They're paying for the general governmental operations of the city. So our city manager's office, our procurement office, the finance office, utility billing, and income tax. All of those are paid out of the general fund.
We have a pretty structured system for how we budget. So we have our operating needs, which pays for all your day-to-day operational needs, your personnel and your all of your supplies, materials, contractual services. But we also plan very significantly on the capital improvement side as well. So we have 5-year plans that we develop, and we use those to financially model what our fiscal resources are going to be and what we're going to need to accomplish what we do and the services that we provide to the community. The 5-year plan is critical because you don't want to embark on a program, a service, or a major capital improvement project and run out of money halfway through. So the 5-year plan tells us not only what our expected resources are going to be today, but we also try to conservatively estimate what those revenues will be in the future, what those demands on those resources are going to be, so that we can plan for them. And if we need to start making adjustments in our operating side as a result of what that plan tells us in year 3, 4, or 5, we can start making those decisions earlier rather than later.
What makes Westerville unique as far as our funding goes is that our community is very supportive of the city operations. They actually voted a levy for 1/4% income tax for parks and recreation. And with that money, we've been able to do quite a bit. Our city is very well known for a great park system. It's wonderful to live here and be able to ride the bike trails, go to the community center, lots of athletic fields. So that's all a result of the residents and what they wanted, and they've put through that vote.
In addition to a long-term approach to planning and budgeting, the city also tries to stretch dollars in some very creative ways.
Yeah, just like every other city department, we're involved in the 5-year budget plan, which is updated every single year and approved by city manager, finance director. City council has the final sign off. So we justify all of our budget as far as revenues and expenditures each year for the next year. When we do our budget, we're usually tied up for about a month, just entering numbers, making the calculations. but it's an ongoing process throughout the year. If we have a major project coming up, we might spend 3 or 4 months researching that project and the different alternatives that we could look at. Yeah, we have basically 4 different budget categories for the fire division. Personnel, which is wages and benefits. We have our services and charges, which is maintenance fees, utilities, those kind of operations. We have our budget for supplies and materials, which is turnout gear, uniforms, equipment, office supplies, everything. And then our capital purchases, which is the larger apparatus and larger equipment. Yeah, we refurbished our ladder truck last year. It was 15 years old and it was at the end of its useful life. And we looked at the cost of a new ladder truck at $1 million. So we contacted the manufacturer and said, what would it cost us to refurbish this truck and bring it back up to new? We'd like to get another 10 or 12 years life out of it. And we were able to do that last year for $420,000, which 40% of the cost of a new vehicle, and it will extend the life a good 10 or 12 years. And we're going to do the same thing with this fire truck. We did one about 3 years ago for a fraction of the cost. This fire truck behind me, brand new, is between $500,000 and $600,000, and we can refurbish this truck for less than half the cost. And it'll also extend the life another 8 or 10 years. We replaced some of our concrete out back behind this station a few years ago, and we used the city service department for that. They were able to come in, remove the old concrete and pavement, and replace it with new for half the cost if we had contracted it out. We received a grant from the Department of Energy a few years ago to update all of our HVAC and electrical systems. That was a $160,000 grant, so out of pocket for us was $40,000, and it's cut our utility costs by about $5,000 or $6,000 a year. We just received a grant that we're purchasing new SCBA equipment, the air tanks the firefighters wear. Our cost for all of that equipment was around $450,000. And with the grant, it will cost us $90,000, so we're saving a lot of money there as well. If we contract with somebody to come in and do some maintenance or repairs on our equipment or our facilities, we do our research to make sure we're getting the best price and the best quality so that we're not overcharged for those materials or that work. If we, for example, our PA system here at this station went bad, was struck by lightning, we contacted a retired firefighter and said, hey, do you know anybody that can do this work for us instead of us calling a company out to do it? And he referred us to a gentleman who came out and fixed it for a fraction of the cost if we had contracted it out. I think not only the administrative staff here or the city, but the firefighters as well know the situation that we're in financially. They understand that our mission is to provide cost-effective services to the community, and they move with that and they work with us to make sure that we do that.
Westerville city staff perform a whole host of city services, but sometimes it's necessary to utilize outside vendors to get certain projects done. And in those cases, the city has a thoughtful and a systematic process in place that helps keep costs low.
Well, bidding process is pretty cool. Again, the idea behind public bids is to make sure everybody has an opportunity to offer their services, whether that's a product or a service that they want to make. The city publicly advertises for large projects that, hey, the city is in the process of considering to buy some service, or we're getting ready to construct some project. We are now receiving bids. By that competitive process, we've found over the years that it is something that really sharpens the pencils of the contractors.
We do a lot to drum up business, to drive competition from our vendors to ensure that we are getting good pricing. We reach them through local markets, we advertise on our internet, we participate in a lot of state and federal cooperative purchasing programs.
The other opportunities that we have is that the state of Ohio also has a lot of bidding that they do. And the state of Ohio, by state law, is required to make some of their, if not all, of their goods and services that they publicly bid available to other jurisdictions throughout the state. So
there's a lot of value in, obviously, the savings, but there's a lot of savings in staff time as well Because if another state entity or another local entity in Ohio has already gone out to bid and incurred the legal costs, then we save those administrative costs and the administrative time by just piggybacking on those opportunities.
So when we bid, for instance, in this early spring for our vehicles, we throw the bid out to the vendors to oversee and make their bids, and then we also compare those to the prices that the state got for their vehicles. If we get a better deal through our open bids, we'll go ahead and award to that vendor. If the state contract is better for the purchase of police vehicles, then we'll award to that vendor. So we're always trying to save the money.
As you know, each city staff position costs money in terms of salary and benefits, but when citizens step up and volunteer their time, the value to Westerville is not only in saving money, their engagement preserves and enhances the quality of life we have come to enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the City of Westerville, I'd like to welcome all of our volunteers. Tonight is our opportunity to give thanks for the work that you all do as volunteers in our community. You're a vital piece of what we accomplish as a community, and we want to just take this opportunity tonight to stop and give thanks for your work that you do for Westerville.
Part of what we have done is a strategic plan, and our strategic plan identifies as a goal that we try to find ways to conserve resources and to provide the most efficient way to operate that we possibly can. And so one element of that is utilizing those volunteer resources to provide that type of support for our operations or for the things that need to happen in the community without having to expend tax dollars to make those things happen.
Without the help of the volunteers, we could not fiscally run many of the programs that we have. They are a tremendous help to us, specifically financially. We just don't have the manpower or be able to fund as many things as we do without the help of the volunteers. We wouldn't have a number of the programs that we are currently available to the citizens of Westerville.
We give the extra hours and we train on a weekly basis. So giving back to the community is definitely one of our biggest things in the Explore program.
By being on the commission and even just being able to talk with other neighbors about my position with the Shade Tree Commission, we are helping to better the environment, helping to increase the tree canopy, make people more aware of the importance of the trees. And through that, we also help to ensure that we can apply for and get awarded Tree City USA awards. And here in a couple of years, it'll be the 40th anniversary of the Tree City USA Awards, and Westerville was one of the first ones to get it, and we have been awarded it every year since. By us bringing the voice to residents from the city, we're able to save on the city time and materials, and being able to just go directly to our neighbors and to our friends and family that live here as well, and reduce the resources that the city has to use.
Oh, I do things like I cook breakfast for the senior center for the pancake breakfast. I think all the volunteers do a great job as far as supplementing the full-time staff. There's a lot of things they can't do, and with the help of volunteers they can expand their programs, they can run the programs a little more efficiently. So it's good for the city, for the volunteers to take part.
Well, without volunteers, a lot of the programs wouldn't be operated as effectively as they are. But the problem is that we never have any problems getting volunteers. And it just makes the programs go so much better, and then the people really enjoy doing them. It just makes it better because everybody's happy. They're happy to be here, they're happy to be doing something. And I would say whoever is out there, if you're not volunteering, then you're missing out on a lot of just good, clean fun.
We just recently had a volunteer recognition evening to celebrate the many thousands, tens of thousands of hours of service that have been provided by our volunteers. And when you translate that into dollars saved from having to provide those services with paid personnel, it's a tremendous savings to our community. It also helps to engage the community, helps to get people involved in what's happening in their community. And I think the volunteers that work in the various capacities throughout the community, they are some of our most engaged citizens. They know what's going on in the community. They care about what's going on in the community because they have that vested interest.
Another key factor in maintaining financial health in Westerville is economic development. Yes, it's been said that jobs equal local fiscal health. Westerville certainly is attracting new jobs to the community, which ultimately helps bolster the city's financial resources.
I think Westerville's in a great place. I think we definitely represent the economy in Central Ohio, which we're a thriving region, and I think we're a thriving community. In terms of fiscal health, 70% of our general fund in the city comes from local income taxes. And we have a growing business community, whether it's in the healthcare sector, IT sector. We have great corporate headquarter locations. We have Fortune 500 companies, and then we have even small startup companies that are emerging. And they're all creating jobs, job opportunities for our residents as well as residents across Central Ohio. Is our proximity to a tremendous workforce in the region. It is the amenities that we have, quality of life, meaning our parks and recreation, our access to the community center, our bike paths, are a tremendous asset from an economic development perspective. Our publicly owned utilities, having our electric utility and water utility, our responsiveness, having those having access to it and having it from a customer service standpoint, and our low cost of doing business, I think helps us become attractive. Not to mention our data center and our fiber optic network, which is the premier IT infrastructure in the region, where we believe that's the next stage of infrastructure, just as important as a sewer line, water line, and electric line. Economic development is about attracting, retaining, and creating job opportunities for the community, and it's about wealth creation also, and so that we build our economy, whether from corporations of 4,000 employees or a mom and pop shop as an uptown merchant. I think having thriving business and commerce makes us an attractive place to work, as well as people are attracted to where they work. They want to live close by, so it's a great opportunity for us to where you can live, work, and play here in Westerville. Success breeds success, and companies that are successful want to be in communities that are successful, and they see the newspaper articles just as much as our residents see newspaper articles where the city has a AAA bond rating, and that I think shows that we show good stewardship in terms of our fiscal management, and so that they're entrusting their tax dollar that these companies and employees pay into the city, that they're going to be used wisely and bettering their business community. When we have that success where companies are being successful, it's going to bring that other businesses that are not in the city here, because they see other successful businesses doing well. They want to be a part of that as well. So everything goes hand in hand, and it goes. You need to be in a thriving community to do that.
Well, hopefully on this edition of Focus Westerville, we've been able to understand how and why Westerville has earned a reputation for having a tradition of fiscal excellence and responsibility. Certainly, in order to excel as a high-quality, full-service community, strong fiscal management is required and will increasingly be needed in the future. If you have questions about any aspect of the City of Westerville's fiscal stewardship, you could start by going on the city website at www.westerville.org. For example, the latest 5-year financial plan has been posted on there, and it contains a lot of helpful information. It obviously takes a lot of work and planning to provide citizens with the quality of life that makes Westerville a nationally renowned destination to live and do business. For Focus Westerville, I'm John Buckles, and we'll see you next time.